Hi everyone, welcome to Accessibility with Meg. This is Meg. Today I thought about something. I think the best and way to learn anything is to go through the actual documentation, just all the related manuals that you may find for that topic, right? Now, I find it difficult to sit and read through all the documentation that's related to accessibility with WCAG standards, etc. It's a lot of content, a lot of information. So I thought, as I am making these videos, I will start to just read through and explain aloud to myself what I'm reading. So what happens in the process is that I will end up reading all of this content, and I will also end up making videos of them. If anybody wants to go through them, read along with me, so we can do that. Yeah. So today I'm going to start with just the basic WCAG overview document. This is the standards guideline at the W3C website, and it is a WCAG 2 overview document. If I find that there are links within this document that we can look at later, I'm just going to open it in a different tab till we finish completing this document, and then we go to each of those and try to finish those. Okay. So let's start. WCAG 2 Overview. Summary. This page introduces the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, WCAG, International Standard, including WCAG 2.0, WCAG 2.1, and WCAG 2.2. WCAG documents explain how to make web content more accessible to people with disabilities. A different page introduces WCAG 3. WCAG is not an introduction to accessibility. For introductions, see Accessibility Fundamentals Overview. Okay, so this document is going to give us an introduction to WCAG 2, which has WCAG 2.0, 2.1, and 2.2 within it, right? So there are 3 versions of WCAG, and this document will introduce us to the different aspects of WCAG 2.x. Now, WCAG 3, they have a different document. We will not be opening that document as of now, but there is an Accessibility Fundamentals Overview here, which is an introduction to accessibility. So I'm going to open this and we will look at it later. Okay. Then let's move further. Quick links to resources. So there are a few links here to the resources. The page contents, so you have introduction, who WCAG is for, what is in WCAG 2, WCAG 2.0, 2.1, 2.2, maybe that's a comparison. The different translations of WCAG that you can find, ISO IEC 40500, EAA EN 301 549. So these are the different laws which use WCAG within it. In Canada, you also have things like the ACA, ADA, ADA is the US, AMA, again, Manitoban Act. So you have these different laws, government laws that will use WCAG. So that kind of information is here. Also, who develops WCAG, and there is a section with more about WCAG. So let's begin. Introduction. Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, WCAG 2, is developed through the W3C process in cooperation with individuals and organizations around the world, with a goal of providing a single shared standard for web content accessibility that meets the needs of individuals, organizations, and governments internationally. So what it's telling us is that this is an international or a global effort that was started by the W3C. They have a W3C process that we can look at. I'm going to open this into a new tab. We will look at it later. And the goal is to provide one source of truth, one shared standard for web content accessibility that meets the needs of individuals, organizations, governments alike internationally. Okay, so this is a global movement, if you will. The WCAG documents explain how to make web content more accessible to people with disabilities. Web content generally refers to the information in a web page or web application, including natural information such as text, images, and sounds, code or markup that defines structure and presentation, etc. So WCAG 2, I know, started off with trying to just make web content, mostly web pages, accessible. But today we have advanced so much that all the different kinds of digital assets that are on the web have to be made accessible, and there are ways to do that, right? So not just cosmetic content like text, images, sounds, etc., but also structural and code content has to be made accessible. And the WCAG documents explain how to make this web content accessible to people with disabilities. So WCAG applies to dynamic content, multimedia, web on mobile, and AI web interfaces. WCAG can also be applied to non-web information and communication technologies, ICT, such as native apps, software, and documents, as described in the WCAG 2 ICT document. So not just web pages, we are also working with dynamic content. So when we talk about dynamic content, today's context, I think we talk about the different software, the SPAs, the single page applications that you have. We are also talking about content that changes dynamically within a web page, etc. Right? So we're talking about all of that. We're talking about multimedia like videos, audio content, podcasts, etc. Web on mobile phones, very important. So there is a lot of content which makes internet applications within your phones accessible. And then AI web interfaces, okay, AI, artificial intelligence, web interfaces, etc. Now, WCAG can also be applied to non-web information and communications technologies and ICT, such as native apps, software, and documents like PDFs, etc. Now, this is described in a separate document called the WCAG 2 ICT document. So we will open this in a new link as well to look at. So let's read further. Who WCAG is for. WCAG is for those who want a technical standard. It's not an introduction to accessibility. For links to introductory material, see where should I start in the FAQ. Okay, so this is more for people who are technical, and it is a technical standard. Okay, WCAG is primarily intended for web content developers, page authors, site designers, etc., web authoring tool developers, web accessibility evaluation tool developers, others who want or need a standard for web accessibility, including for mobile accessibility. So primary intention is for coders or programmers, also known as developers, content developers, app developers, like page authors, also to site designers. It's important. You would talk also for testers, auditors, etc. Anybody who is technically connected with the web, this document is gold. It's important, okay? To meet the needs of others, okay, including policymakers, managers, and researchers, there are many different WHY resources. WHY is Web Accessibility Initiative resources. So there are many other resources related to WCAG that could cater to non-technical needs for people like policymakers, managers, researchers, etc. So I'm going to open this in a new link to see, a new tab for us to see it later. Next, what is in WCAG 2? The WCAG 2.2 has 13 guidelines. The guidelines are organized under 4 principles: perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust. For each guideline, there are testable success criteria. The success criteria are at 3 levels: A, AA, and AAA. The success criteria are what determine conformance to WCAG. That is, in order to meet WCAG, the content needs to meet the success criteria. Details are in the conformance section of WCAG. For a short summary of the WCAG 2 guidelines, see WCAG 2 at a glance. Okay, so there are 4 principles: perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust. They're also called the POUR principles, P-O-U-R. Okay, these principles have 13 guidelines into WCAG 2.2, and each of these guidelines contain testable success criteria. The success criteria are at 3 levels again: A, AA, and AAA. Now, note that the guidelines fall under the principles. So for each principle, there are a number of guidelines and a number of success criteria that fall under each guideline. Now, to conform to WCAG standards and to be marked as accessibility friendly, you need to determine that all the success criteria which give you that conformance are met. Okay. We will open the principles in a new link, 3 levels in a new link, in a new tab. Keep saying new link, in a new tab. The conformance section to WCAG, this is important, in a new tab as well. And WCAG 2 at a glance in a new tab as well. We may not go through WCAG 2 at a glance right now, but this document is pretty detailed by itself, right? Okay. Now, also you have supporting material and supplemental guidance. The following resources help you understand and implement WCAG and improve accessibility beyond WCAG. So, quick reference, how to meet WCAG 2 checklist. So there is a quick reference for WCAG 2, which has a quick reference for 2.0, 2.1, 2.2. And it also has filters within it, so you can filter and see the success criteria that apply to that particular version of WCAG, right? So, and then you have understanding WCAG 2, techniques for WCAG 2, test rules, and supplemental guidance. Please read about these WCAG 2 resources from the WCAG 2 documents. So there's another one here. So notice that within just one document, there are so many branches going out to other documents that you need to read. So there's a lot to read. And so this way of reading helps me because I'm explaining this to myself and to you. That if it makes sense that you want an explanation, or you could just simply just go to this documentation, click through and read through it, because that's the best way to read any you know, any subject for that matter. Go to the manual, like they say, RTFM. I'm not going to expand on that. Reading further, WCAG 2.0, 2.1, 2.2. Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, WCAG, versions are stable, referenceable standards when they are published as a W3C recommendation web standard. The first links below go to the latest publication. Each publication has a unique web address or a URL that includes the date in the URL. The standard at the dated URL does not change. So you have links to WCAG 2.0, 2.1, 2.2, and when they were published, and it's all over here in this document, right? WCAG 2.0 was published on 11th December 2008. WCAG 2.1 was published on 5th June 2018, so you can find that version here, and updates were published on 21st September 2023, 12th December 2024, and 6th May 2025. We see that all of these documents, they are living documents and they are enhanced on the go, right? So they are enhanced from time to time, things are added to it. WCAG 2.2 was published on 5th October 2023, and an update was published on December 12th, 2024. So these are the different links. We will go through the WCAG versions at some point, so I will not open these in a separate window right now. Or maybe I will. Okay, so maybe I should, because they are important. I will open them in a separate window. We will go through this at some point when we reach it in detail any which way. So yeah. And then you have, for more information on the updates, see WCAG 2 FAQ. So let's open that as well. The WCAG 2 requirements, success criteria, are the same in later versions. For example, the success criteria in WCAG 2.1 are not changed in 2.2. Later versions add new success criteria and do not change existing success criteria. One exception is 4.1.1, parsing, noted below. Okay, so each version is an enhancement of the previous versions. So all the content of the previous version applies, plus anything new that's added in the newer versions. And that's how from 2.0 to 2.2, all of the success criteria within it collectively have to be met for conformance, right? Depending on the level, whether you choose A, AA, or AAA, the applicable success criteria are all inclusive from 2.0 to 2.2. Now, there was one exception where I think 4.1.1 parsing was removed in 2.2. So 2.2 does not have 4.1.1 parsing anymore. It was removed. Reading further, any updates in related documents are intended to support backwards compatibility in practice. The main change is that in WCAG 2.2, one success criterion, 4.1.1 parsing, is obsolete. Like I said, it was removed. Notes added to 2.1 and WCAG 2.2 errata address this. As explained in WCAG 2 FAQ 4.1.1 parsing. So let's open that and we can read that explanation as well. WCAG 2.2 also includes notes about different languages. More information is in WCAG 2 FAQ internationalization. Yes, open this as well. So you can see, you get an idea of how much is there in WCAG. It's like an ocean. You can keep reading, and there's more, and there's more. But I love it. Okay, reading further, WCAG 2.0, 2.1, and 2.2 are all existing standards. WCAG 2.2 does not deprecate or supersede WCAG 2.1, and WCAG 2.1 does not deprecate or supersede WCAG 2.0. W3C encourages you to use the latest version of WCAG. So you're encouraged to use 2.2, which is the latest stable version of WCAG. There is WCAG 3.0, but that's still work in progress. You're encouraged to use 2.2 as the standard. But most of the law requirements, the international laws, they are working with WCAG 2 or 2.1, and the industry standard is to at least meet a WCAG 2.1 double A level standard. Okay. Now, WCAG 2.0 and 2.1 and 2.2 are designed to be backwards compatible, like I said, which means content that conforms to WCAG 2.2 also conforms to 2.1 and 2.0. If you want to meet all the versions, you can use WCAG 2.2 resources, and you do not need to look at earlier versions. Yes, right? Now we reach the section on translations. So authorized translations and unofficial translations of WCAG 2 are listed in WCAG 2 translations. So let's open that link to look at later. Okay. All right. ISO IC 40500, EAA EN 301549. WCAG 2.2 is an approved international organization for standardization, which is ISO as we know it, standard. So ISO IEC 40500:2 2025 and is available free from ISO. So this is a ISO standard, okay? ISO and IEC 40500:2025 is exactly the same as the October 2023 version of WCAG 2.2. We expect the December 2024 version of WCAG 2.2 to be available as ISO IEC 40500:2026 by late 2026. So this document was put together in 2023, I think. And so we have references for dates which have passed now. But reading this, that's what we get. So this is an ISO standard, and we need to know that. ISO is an international organization for standardization. We all know about ISO, I'm hoping. Now, in addressing the European Accessibility Act, or EAA, most organizations use WCAG and the European standard EN 301549. Accessibility requirements for ICT products and services. EN 301549 currently uses WCAG 2.1. We expect the next version of EN 301549 to use the latest version of WCAG 2.2. To find how laws around the world use WCAG, see the Web Accessibility Laws and Policies. So let's open that. WCAG encourages you to use the latest version of WCAG. Content that meets WCAG 2.2 also meets 2.1 and 2.0. So you have a variety of laws. Now we see a mention of this being an ISO standard. Also, for European Accessibility Act, EAA, they use the WCAG 2.1. Here within Canada, we have the ACA, or the Canadian Act, Accessibility for Canadians Act, ACA, which uses the WCAG 2.1 standard. 2.0 standard. You also have AMA, which is the Accessibility for Manitobans Act here in Canada, which uses 2.1 AA standard that needs to be met. We also have AODA, which is your Ontarian Accessibility Act, and the AODA as well for your ICT products and services requires a WCAG 2.1 conformance. So that's what we have here. Now, who develops a WCAG? The WCAG technical documents are developed by the Accessibility Guidelines Working Group. Okay, it's called the AGWG, Accessibility Guidelines Working Group. Formerly, the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines Working Group. So this was formerly called the WCAG Working Group. Now it's called just Accessibility Guidelines Working Group, which is part of the World Wide Web Consortium, or the W3C, Web Accessibility Initiative, Y. Okay, now let's remember this. So all the technical documents, they are developed by the Accessibility Guidelines Working Group, AGWG, okay, which this group was previously called the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines Working Group. I guess that's where the WCAG comes from. Or this group was named after the document that they were working on, I would think. But today, accessibility is beyond just the web or the web pages, right? It's beyond all of that. And so Accessibility Guidelines Working Group, AGWG, makes sense. And then you have, this is a part of the World Wide Web Consortium, W3C, Web Accessibility Initiative. So the Y, if you know of the ARIA documentation, why ARIA, right? So Y is the Web Accessibility Initiative, which is the World W3C initiative. And AGWG is a part of that. Reading further. Y updates techniques for WCAG 2 and understanding WCAG 2 periodically. We welcome comments and submission of new techniques. Opportunities for contributing to WCAG and other Y work are introduced in Participate in Y. Let's see this later for fun as well. Okay, reading further. More about WCAG. WCAG is a part of a series of accessibility guidelines, including the Authoring Tool Accessibility Guidelines, ATAG, and the User Agent Accessibility Guidelines, UAAG. Essential Components of Web Accessibility explains the relationship between the different guidelines. Okay, so I'm going to open this in a new link for us to see later. It's not just web content accessibility that we are dealing with here. We also have ATAG, which is Authoring Tool Accessibility Guidelines, and User Agent Accessibility Guidelines. So what's an authoring tool? It is the tools that you use for authoring and creating web pages. WCAG editors like maybe Wix, maybe, what you see is what you get editors, these are called. So you can work with these editors to create web pages. Some CMS systems like, say, WordPress, all of these are actually used to create web pages. So these tools which are used to create web pages, they also have to conform to accessibility requirements. And then you have user agent accessibility guidelines. User agents accessibility guidelines got to do more with the browsers. We're talking about the actual tools here. Okay, so these are also a part of WCAG, but it's an extension of WCAG. Okay, so we have that information as well. And then you have a FAQ section, which is your frequently asked questions section. So I'll just open that. We can see through it. See the WCAG 2 FAQ for more information on WCAG 2 coverage of mobile accessibility. That's important. Opening this link. Applying WCAG 2 to documents and software. That's important as well. And more. All right. Now, there's a small section here on JSON machine-readable files. Okay, JSON is JavaScript object notation files, and these files include the principles, guidelines, success criteria, and glossary terms from WCAG and the supporting techniques. For more information, see JSON serialization of WCAG 2 GitHub. We will open this. I may not go into details with this, but basically a JSON file is used with your APIs, right? So if there is any API that you might be using to access content, you would use these JSON machine readable files, and you can access these here in this at this location. Okay. Now, WCAG 3, for information on the early draft of W3C Accessibility Guidelines 3.0, formerly known as Silva, see WCAG 3 Introduction. We have a separate video on this that we just completed, I think yesterday, the last video. And we will look through it as well at some point, just see what the document contains. Okay. So we've come to the end of this, and over here we have help to improve this page. There's a small section. You can email, you can fork and edit it on GitHub. Any issues, the new GitHub issue bucket. Okay, so this document was updated 26th May 2026. It was first published in July 2005. Wow. So like I said, this is a living document. It keeps getting enhanced. The editor of this document is Sean Lawton Henry. I would like to know a little more about this person, so we can open that. And there is a section for any latest changes. We can open that link as well. Developed with input from WCAG Guidelines Working Group, or the AGWG. So if you want to know more about them, it's here. Very well laid out document. If we keep reading, you keep learning more and more. And I just feel like this is a better way to learn and understand about WCAG. So W3C, Web Accessibility Initiative of WHY, strategies, standards, resources to make the web accessible to people with disabilities. So you have small other sections, which is a LinkedIn, get in the news email, all your social media, Mastodon. I don't know what that is. Okay. YouTube, you can connect on YouTube to WCAG as well. And you have your sitemap at the bottom, copyright information here. All this content, copyright is World Wide Web Consortium. I'm just trying to understand it and put it out as a video form, just to help myself and anybody who, that this content can help. Thank you so much, and we will get into the details of all the links that we have created as separate tabs in the upcoming videos. Okay, thanks, and please subscribe if you like my content. It will really help me. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.